Well, this is a by the way, we're based in New York City here on the Sports Hour with Alex Garrett. Welcome inside and hope you're enjoying Can You Dig Sports Radio. New schedule. And so Freddie Systems is on 6 to 10. I'm on 10 to 2 middays. And it's pretty cool. I don't have an M in my name, so I can't really say middays with Maggie like I think FAN was trying to do. But anyway, um, they're a different breed. We're a little more on the real, on the grounded level, and on the sports fan level. Are we not? I think so. At Kenny Dig Sports Radio. So, being based in New York, I always want to talk about the New York angle because, well, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. And so, this headline really freaking disturbed me. Want to know what it is? The headline says, Bill de Blasio is the first New York City mayor with no championship teams in 100 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, I talked about this last week, how the Red Sox, under Bostonian mayoralty, with Mayor Bloomberg and Mayor de Blasio, Yankees only won one series against the Red Sox in these 20 years of a Bostonian as our mayor. That one was 2003, when Aaron Boone walked it off against the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium. That's it. Other than that, we've seen the Red Sox come back from 3-0 under Bloomberg and win the AL American League Championship Series and sort of reverse the curse because they then went on to beat the Cardinals in that 04 World Series. 07. I can go on here. 11, 13, 18. It's been a Red Sox kind of time in the World Series under the mayors de Blasio and Bloomberg. But the difference is Bloomberg did have champions in City Hall. He had the Yankees of 09 and he had the Giants in 2009 and 2012 against, interestingly enough, the Patriots both times. But as if the mayor of New York, you're a nice dude, you're good to talk to, you're very personable, your policies I really can't stand. But now you've messed with our sports scene. Now you've messed with our sports scene because we won't have a championship under a New York City mayor for the first time in 100 years. You're the first time in 2 terms. First mayor with no champion under your belt in 100 years. Can Eric Adams or Curtis Sliwa come on the scene and reverse that curse here in New York? As the Post calls it, the curse of the Blasbino. That's very funny, actually. That's very funny. By the way, it's Columbus Day, and he wants to seem like he's this big Italian. He also has German in him. Let's not forget about that. But I digress. Back to sports. The Big Apple, according to Rich Calder of the New York Post, over the past 100 years, at least saw one of the 49 titles. We could have a 50th title in a 15-mayor run. But no, that run stops at 49. 14 mayors have received 49 NFL, MLB, NBA, or NHL titles earned by the teams over that period. Now, it's funny because the Brooklyn Nets almost had a chance last year. They're in the city now. They are considered a city team. But with Kyrie out, it was not meant to be. And now he may not even play home games because of the vaccine policy, which, by the way, Mayor de Blasio instituted. The mandates. Well, I don't even want to talk about the vaccine today. It's getting tiring beating that old drum. It's getting tiring talking about it and reading about it and having to report on it on Alex Garrett Podcasting and the other stuff I do outside of Kenny Dig Sports Radio. But we do it because whether we're athletes, whether we're able-bodied people, disabled people, all these policies are affecting everyone. That's why we cover that. But the fact that Mayor de Blasio has now messed with the championship vibe of New York City is the worst thing he can leave behind. Because let's be honest here in New York, okay? Let's be honest that in New York City, we bond over sports. We bond over whether the Yankees are going to beat the Red Sox in a wild card game. We bond over why the Jets and Giants have struggled year in and year out. We bond over that. We want to bond over that. But now you're telling sports fans, look at this, you're not going to have a championship under me. Now, you're not telling it, of course, that's just the way it worked out, let's be honest here. But I think there's an air of de Blasio that is a curse. Especially when, if you remember, the mayor would go and watch the Red Sox games. They give a whole breakdown of the mayors who won, who saw what. But he flew off to watch the Red Sox play in spring training or play the Angels in 2019 while he was in Los Angeles amid his presidential bid. Remember he ran for president here, across the country? He said, screw New York, I'm going to try and win for an audience of 5 people. I remember that like it was yesterday. But I didn't realize he went to a freaking Red Sox game during his campaign trail. Are you kidding me? In Los Angeles? Now, okay, I left for a weekend to watch the Mets play in LA. I'm a regular person. I didn't have a presidential run to mind. I didn't have a whole city's store to mind. But this guy on our taxpaying dime, now you got me going, Rich Kohler. On our taxpayer dime, went to watch the Red Sox in regular season play while his city was falling apart. People say COVID was when the start. No. When the police turned their back on de Blasio, that's when you knew the city was starting to fall apart. That was 2014. It's only gotten progressively worse. And there are storefronts that are vacant in the city. There were those in 2019. I'm looking at the city now. I'm wondering, how can a mayor leave his city in a time of crisis in 2019? Because back then you had the police being sprayed by water. You had all this other stuff going on here in New York. But yet he made time to watch the Red Sox. I'm so glad you could fit the Red Sox in your schedule, Mayor de Blasio. I am so excited for you that you could do that. And you now leave us with no championship in your mayoralty. Good for you. As Oliva Rodrigo would sing. Good for you. You know what? You don't even deserve to give key to the city to any of these people, by the way. You don't deserve it. So maybe it's better off we didn't have a championship under you. But you mess with our sports town. Big time. Bigger than Bloomberg. Because at least Bloomberg would sit there with Rudy at these games when it was Mets Yankees. Where were you? Where were you? I didn't even see you at those games. But Mayor de Blasio has messed with our sports town. Eric Adams, you're probably the favorite, but in the off chance, Curtis Lewa, who is a big-ass Yankee fan. But we need to bring Yankee fandom. We need to bring New York City fandom back into City Hall. That's what we got to do. And it happens in November. On November mayoral election 2021 here in NYC. On November 2nd. Oh, November 2nd. Mayoral election. Time to reverse the curse of de Blasio. Time to reverse the curse of a Bostonian in office. I don't really care if Eric Adams has lived in New Jersey. I should, because I don't want a non-New Yorker to win. I don't. But I can't control that. What I can control is just hyping up the fact that we're going to have a New Yorker back in office for the first time since Rudy Giuliani. And we all know how that turned out in the end. Mayor Giuliani has kind of fallen off big time. You can find him at Four Seasons Landscaping. Crickets? Okay. He was a Yankee super fan, and he got to see his childhood team, his Yankees, 4 times while in office. Could have had a 5th time, but 4 times. 96, 98, 99, 2000. 4 times. Bloomberg had the Yanks once. He had the Giants twice. And Rudy also had the Rangers in 94. But for this mayor to leave us with, and by the way, Giuliani has seen 5 overall. Right. The Rangers was the 5th. Rangers actually was the first one because they won in 94, then the Yankees came in and won 96, 98, 99, 2000. But this mayor, 0, a big fat goose egg in as far as sports goes. But our taxpayers didn't get a goose egg, did it? No. We didn't actually not pay for his presidential campaign. We didn't pay for him to be, we did pay for his presidential campaign. We did pay for him to go to Red Sox games as New Yorkers paying into that. I can't wait for November 2nd. I kind of made a joke that he and I could be in the next remake of Twins. If you ever seen that movie, little Danny DeVito and big, tall Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mayor de Blasio, if you have time on your hands, I'd love to remake that because you're freaking hilarious. All right, I'm sure you're really funny because a lot of your policies are funny. In a bad way, though. But yes, first time in 100 years, a mayor, New York City is a sports town, and its mayor didn't get to give out keys to the city because there has been nothing. And you can say, well, don't lay this on de Blasio and whatever. But you know what? His focus isn't even on the city. Now knowing the Red Sox were on his mind, so much so, he went to a game in 2019. The Red Sox aren't even in New York, but they're on his mind. And we're paying for him to watch the Red Sox. Much like we paid Chris Christie to watch the Cowboys. Remember that. He's a big Cowboy fan. And our taxpaying dollars paid for him to head down to Dallas and Jerry's World to see the Cowboys. Gotta love that. Gotta love when these mayors and governors aren't loyal to their team. By the way, Buffalo, at least Cuomo was spot on there. But the fraud that he is, $5 million on a book deal alone, while the COVID patients were dying in nursing homes alone, he came down to the city and wore an Islander hat amidst their big playoff run. Aren't you a Buffalo Sabres fan? Governor Cuomo being up there in Albany and upstate New York. We don't need your downstateness when it comes to sports. That goes for any governor, as far as I'm concerned. We don't need any Massachusetts running our city anymore because they have cursed us in baseball. I am convinced. And you can't tell me the Yankees didn't have the talent. They had A-Rod, they had Jeter, they had Posada at that point, they had Matsui, and all they could produce against the Red Sox was one series win. They now have Stanton, they have Judge, they have talent. And all they could produce in all these 20 years is one epic series win against the Red Sox. They've lost to them now in the ALCS. They've lost to them in the ALDS. They've lost to them in the wild card. All 3 series that you could lose to the Red Sox in the postseason, they've done it. And it's no wonder, and it's really no coincidence, because the mayor who minds the store of the city, the mayor who is supposed to be the leader, is off going to Red Sox games on our taxpaying dollar, on a New York City taxpaying dime. We don't need that energy around here. We don't need, as the kids say today, that vibe around here. So I pray that Mayor Curtis Lewa or Mayor Eric Adams can do something to reverse the curse of the Blasbino, as the New York Post put it. The curse of the Blasbino. Of course, a take on Babe Ruth and the Bambino, right? Reverse the curse. We need a championship again. I've been working downtown and midtown and downtown Manhattan for 8 years. 8 years. And not one of the four big sports teams, one of the four sports leagues, has come down with a win. Down the Canyon Heroes. That's got to change. And maybe a focus on the city and not running around to Los Angeles to watch a Red Sox game. Forget about being president, trying to be president. That was a joke. How about now trying to say, well, I'm going to use your taxpaying dollars to be a freaking Red Sox cheerleader. Don't need that energy, Mayor de Blasio. Oh, and before you leave, can you give us the keys back to the city? Business owners are asking you nicely. We'll be back for more on the Sports Hour with Alex Garrett. So much heated up today. I can't believe they used taxpayer dollars. I cannot believe de Blasio used taxpayer dollars to fund a trip to watch the Red Sox multiple times. I thought it was just a couple times. But it was multiple times, apparently. And now in 2019, we find out he was there watching the Red Sox play the Angels in Los Angeles. Well, in Anaheim. That's gross. That's grotesque. That is ugly. Very, very ugly. But a New Yorker's coming in the office. We can pray for that one. Finally, tri-stater or a New Yorker is going to be in the office of the mayor. Thanks be to God. We'll talk to you in a little bit on Kenny Diggs Sports Radio throughout the day and so much more. Stay tuned.